The spark of war. A moment that changed everything. New York City had seen its share of chaos. But nothing in its long history, no war, no disaster, no terror attack, would ever compare to what happened on that fateful day. Dr. Evelyn Carter, a brilliant physicist working on humanity's next-generation fusion drives, was 7 months pregnant. She was walking home from a diplomatic summit, the weight of her unborn child making each step feel heavier, but her heart was light. The United Terran Federation, UTF, had been negotiating for peace, for cooperation with the Galactic Empire, and despite tensions, she had hoped that humans would carve a place among the stars through diplomacy, not war. Then the Imperial enforcers arrived. The Empire had always treated Earth with contempt, a primitive backwater, as they called it, filled with unevolved creatures barely worth acknowledging. Their patrol ships hovered over the city, a constant reminder of who ruled the galaxy. But today was different. Today, an Imperial officer, a high-ranking warlord named Commander Valok, decided to make an example of a human. A brutal mistake. The confrontation started small. A group of UTF security personnel refused to step aside when an Imperial patrol attempted to enter a restricted human facility. Heated words turned into shouts. Shouts turned into threats. A crowd gathered. The cameras rolled. Evelyn happened to be nearby, caught in the growing tension. She didn't want to stay, pregnant and exhausted. She had no business being in the middle of a dispute, but before she could turn away, she saw him. Commander Valok, 7 feet tall, clad in his Imperial battle armor, standing in the middle of the street like a god surveying insects. His cold reptilian eyes swept over the crowd. Disdain, amusement, but something else too, irritation. Humans, he growled, his voice reverberating through his helmet speakers. Always so fragile, always so disobedient. The UTF officers stood their ground, but they were unarmed. This was supposed to be neutral ground, and the Empire had promised peace. Valok did not care. He stepped forward, shoving one of the officers aside like a rag doll. And then his eyes landed on Evelyn. She wasn't a soldier. She wasn't a threat, but she was in his way. The blow that echoed across the stars. What happened next was captured by thousands of cameras, streamed live to every screen on Earth. Valok swung his armored hand, casual, dismissive, as if swatting an insect. The force of the impact lifted Evelyn off her feet. She hit the pavement hard, her scream drowned out by the horrified gasps of the crowd. Blood pooled beneath her, and then silence. The kind of silence that only comes before an explosion. The crowd erupted. UTF officers rushed forward, weapons drawn, breaking protocol. Civilians surged in fury, their fear replaced by something far deadlier, rage. Valok and his enforcers responded with force, striking down anyone who came near. More blood, more screams. By the time emergency responders arrived, it was too late. Evelyn Carter's unborn child, her son, was gone. The last mistake the Empire would ever make. The news spread faster than light. Within hours, every human colony, every space station, every outpost from Mars to Alpha Centauri saw the footage. Millions wept. Billions seethed. The Empire's response? A single statement. A regrettable misunderstanding. The human resisted Imperial authority. That was all. No apology. No reparations. Nothing. The UTF government, up until now hesitant to challenge the Empire, held an emergency meeting. The president, a hardened leader named Elias Grayson, addressed the entire species in a broadcast that would define history. The image of Evelyn Carter, lying broken in the street, filled the screens behind him. He did not speak in diplomatic tones. He did not call for patience. He did not ask for restraint. He simply said, "For too long, we have tolerated their arrogance. For too long, we have suffered their cruelty. But no more. No more treaties. No more negotiations. No more bending the knee. They took one of our own. They took an innocent life. And now, we take the war to them." The final declaration echoed across the void. Humanity declares full-scale war against the Galactic Empire. And just like that, the universe would never be the same again. The line awakens. The war machine stirs. The declaration of war sent shockwaves through the galaxy. For centuries, the Galactic Empire had ruled uncontested. Civilizations bent to its will, entire species ground into submission beneath its iron grip. Humanity, a species the Empire had barely considered worthy of notice, had just done the unthinkable, declared war on a force that had subjugated hundreds of worlds. To the Imperial High Command, it was laughable. Humanity had a single homeworld, a handful of colonies, and a fledgling fleet that had never been tested in real war. The Empire saw Earth's defiance as a minor rebellion, one that would be crushed in weeks. They were wrong. Mobilization of a species. The moment President Grayson's declaration ended, the United Terran Federation, UTF, switched into wartime mode. Factories that once produced civilian starships were repurposed to build warships. Industrial colonies, from the lunar shipyards to the asteroid foundries of the belt, doubled production overnight. The UTF fleet, though smaller than the Imperial Armada, was built on human ingenuity, stealth systems, kinetic railguns, AI-assisted targeting, and experimental fusion lances. What the Empire dismissed as primitive was, in reality, the most adaptable war technology in the galaxy. Humanity's soldiers prepared as well. The UTF Marine Corps swore oaths of vengeance. The Black Horizon Special Forces, experts in guerrilla warfare, began planning operations deep in Imperial space. Even ordinary civilians volunteered in droves, ready to do their part in the war effort. Humanity had been underestimated. That mistake would cost the Empire everything. The Empire's first miscalculation. The Empire wasted no time responding. Within days, a fleet of 20 warships arrived in the Sol system, expecting an easy occupation. They broadcast a single message to Earth: kneel or be destroyed. They gave no time for a response. Imperial cruisers opened fire, targeting Earth's orbital defenses and attempting to establish dominance over the planet. It should have been a swift conquest. It was not. The UTF had been waiting. The first battle of Earth. The Imperial fleet, accustomed to subjugating defenseless planets, was unprepared for what followed. UTF warships, smaller but faster and more maneuverable, struck with deadly precision. Human-designed railguns, capable of firing solid tungsten slugs at near-relativistic speeds, tore through Imperial shields as if they were paper. EMP strikes disabled entire cruisers before they could fire a second volley. The battle lasted only 6 hours. By the end, 15 Imperial ships lay in ruins, their debris scattering into Earth's orbit. The remaining 5 fled, their commanders too stunned to comprehend how they had been outmatched. The Empire had come to crush Earth. Instead, Earth had crushed them. The counterattack begins. The moment the Imperial fleet retreated, humanity struck back. The UTF wasn't going to wait for another attack. If war was inevitable, then it would be fought on humanity's terms. Operation Starfall was put into motion, a bold, unprecedented counteroffensive. Humanity would not defend. It would attack. Strike teams infiltrated Imperial-occupied star systems, sabotaging supply lines, hacking communication networks, and crippling strategic outposts. Cyber warfare units unleashed viruses into the Imperial data net, feeding them false information and disrupting fleet movements. And then, the first true invasion began. The fall of Jarix 4. Jarix 4 was a key Imperial supply world, located just outside human space. The Empire considered it untouchable. It was the first world to fall. UTF Marines, backed by orbital bombardment and stealth drop pods, stormed the planet, taking out Imperial defenses in coordinated strikes. Resistance was fierce, but the Imperial garrison had grown soft, used to ruling over broken species that never fought back. The battle lasted 2 days. When it was over, the UTF flag flew over Jarix 4. The galaxy takes notice. The impossible had happened. Humanity had not only survived its first encounter with the Empire, it had won. Across the stars, oppressed civilizations took notice. The Empire, once thought invincible, had been wounded. If the humans could fight back, then perhaps others could as well. The war had only just begun, but one thing was now clear. The Galactic Empire was no longer the only power in the universe. The lion had awakened, and it was hungry for vengeance. The wrath of humanity. The Empire strikes back. The Galactic Empire could no longer ignore humanity. What was supposed to be a simple act of subjugation had spiraled into disaster. The first battle of Earth had shattered their illusions of an easy conquest. The fall of Jerix, for had proven that humans were not just capable of fighting back, they were capable of winning. Humiliation turned to fury. The Imperial High Command, enraged by the losses, ordered a full-scale retaliation. They assembled the 8th Fleet, a battle group of 50 warships, and sent them straight toward human space. Their mission was simple: erase the United Terran Federation from existence. But humanity was ready. The Battle of Proxima Prime. The 8th Fleet entered Proxima Prime's orbit, expecting a quick planetary bombardment. They found no resistance at first. No human ships moved to intercept them. It seemed, for a brief moment, that Earth had finally realized its mistake and was preparing to surrender. Then, the trap was sprung. UTF stealth corvettes, hidden within Proxima's asteroid belt, launched a surprise assault. EMP warheads detonated across the Imperial formation, frying their shield generators and disrupting their targeting systems. Before they could recover, the main Terran fleet emerged from Proxima's shadow and struck with terrifying precision. Railgun slugs the size of buses tore through Imperial hulls. AI-assisted targeting ensured that every missile, every kinetic impact hit a critical system: engines, weapons, reactor cores. The Empire relied on sheer numbers and brute force. Humanity fought with intelligence and ruthless efficiency. The battle, expected to last hours, was over in less than 45 minutes. 35 Imperial ships were obliterated. The rest fled. It was no longer just a war. It was a reckoning. The superweapon unleashed. The UTF had been holding back. While the Empire relied on outdated tactics and centuries-old technology, human scientists had been working in secret on something new. Project Judgment. The result was a new class of warship, the Judgment-class Dreadnought, a terrifying behemoth equipped with cutting-edge energy shields, experimental fusion lances capable of melting through planetary crusts, and an AI combat system that could predict and counter enemy movements in real time. The UTS Retribution, the first of its class, was launched ahead of schedule, and it was given only one order: take the war to the Empire. The uprising begins. The galaxy was watching. For centuries, the Empire had ruled with fear. Entire civilizations had been broken, their people enslaved, their cultures erased. They had always believed that no one could challenge them. Then humanity had done the impossible. It had fought back. It had won, and it had inspired others to do the same. Across the galaxy, whispers of rebellion turned into shouts of defiance. Uprisings erupted on over a dozen Imperial-controlled worlds. On Zaltan, an enslaved species overthrew their Imperial overseers, capturing an entire fleet of warships and pledging their allegiance to humanity. On Varkesh 9, an underground resistance movement, long thought crushed, rose up in open war, striking Imperial supply lines. The Empire's forces were stretched thin. They could barely contain the growing fires of rebellion, let alone launch another assault on humanity. And then, humanity made its next move: the march to the core. The UTF had fought defensively long enough. If the war was going to end, it would not end on Earth. It would end on the Imperial homeworld. Operation Stormbreaker was initiated. The largest human fleet ever assembled, over 300 warships, including the Retribution, set course for the Empire's core systems. Their target, Valerian Prime, the heart of the Empire. Humanity was no longer just fighting for survival. It was fighting for vengeance, for justice. The war that had begun with the assault on Evelyn Carter was now heading toward its final chapter. The Empire would fall, or humanity would burn the galaxy down trying. Vengeance and reckoning. The final stand. The Imperial homeworld, Valerian Prime, had never been touched by war. For centuries, it had stood as the untouchable throne of the Galactic Empire, a planet of towering spires and endless palaces, its skies patrolled by warships the size of cities. It was here that emperors had ruled with absolute power, where conquered species had been paraded in chains, where the might of the empire was displayed for all to see. And now, for the first time in history, an enemy fleet was approaching its gates. Humanity had come to end the war. The siege of Valerian Prime. The United Terran Federation Grand Armada, 300 warships strong, emerged from slipspace just outside Valerian Prime's defensive perimeter. Leading the charge was the UTS Retribution, the pride of the UTF, its fusion lances already charging with enough energy to carve through mountains. The Imperial High Command scrambled to respond. Every available warship was mobilized, forming a defensive wall between humanity and the capital. The Imperial Home Fleet, once considered invincible, now faced an enemy that had outmaneuvered, outgunned, and outthought them at every turn. And humanity did not hesitate. The battle began with a precision strike. UTF stealth ships slipped past the outer defenses, disabling planetary shield generators and cutting power to key military installations. The moment the shields flickered, the Retribution fired its main weapon. A single fusion lance, burning as bright as a newborn star, ripped through the Imperial flagship, vaporizing it in an instant. Then, the full might of humanity was unleashed. Railguns fired in rapid succession, their tungsten slugs punching through Imperial hulls like paper. AI-assisted missile swarms overwhelmed enemy point defenses. UTF fighter squadrons weaved through the chaos, their pilots trained for this exact moment. Within hours, the Imperial Home Fleet was shattered. Half its ships lay in ruins. The rest either fled or surrendered. The once mighty defenses of Valerian Prime had been breached, and humanity was coming for the Emperor. The fall of the Empire. UTF drop pods rained down like meteors, deploying thousands of Marines into the streets of the Imperial capital. Resistance was fierce. Imperial soldiers, once arrogant and unchallenged, now fought with desperation, knowing that their empire was crumbling around them. They held the palace gates for hours, refusing to surrender. But humanity had come too far to stop now. The Black Horizon Special Forces, humanity's most elite warriors, led the final push. They breached the Emperor's throne room, finding him standing alone, a man who had ruled billions, now reduced to a frightened ruler watching his empire burn. You did not offer her a truce. Emperor Calixtus IV was a man who had never known fear. Until now, the leader of the Galactic Empire, once a god among mortals, stood trembling before the soldiers of humanity. Behind them, the shattered remains of his throne room burned, the sound of battle still echoing through the city. He took a breath, trying to summon what little authority he had left. I offer a truce, he said, an end to this war. The lead UTF commander stepped forward, his helmet visor retracted, revealing the battle-hardened face of General Adrian Ross. His eyes burned with cold fury. He held up a hollow screen, playing footage that had sparked this war. The moment Commander Valoc had struck down Evelyn Carter, the moment an innocent child had been taken. Ross's voice was calm, unwavering. You did not offer her a truce. The Emperor's mouth opened to protest, to plead. Ross pulled the trigger. A new galactic order. The death of the Emperor shattered what remained of the Empire. Across the galaxy, Imperial forces surrendered. Oppressed species rose up, overthrowing their rulers. The once mighty Empire collapsed in a matter of days. But humanity did not seek conquest. The UTF, instead of ruling over the broken remains, helped rebuild. The Galactic Federation was born, an alliance of free worlds where no species was above another. The era of imperial domination was over. On Earth, a monument was erected in New York City, the place where it all began. A statue of Evelyn Carter and her unborn child, their faces turned toward the stars. The inscription beneath read, "From tragedy, we forged strength. From injustice, we created justice. Never again." And across the galaxy, All who saw it knew one thing. Humanity had arrived, and it would never be silenced again.